Hi, I'm Abbie. I sort of specialise in chibi stuff, caricature work. That seems to be like my most popular thing at the moment. I also do like a bit of everything and anything and everything really. I do pointillism as well. I do like full pencil portraits, things like that. I think one of my earliest memories is being sat in like playgroup, colouring in like a colouring page of a clown and managing to vaguely get within the lines, and I think from that moment I knew. But yeah, like honestly I've always had a sort of predication towards drawing and artwork kind of stuff professionally, like as a self-employed business, since about 2014, so it was literally like a month or two after I finished university. Generally my most popular thing that I do is like the chibi cartoons kind of stuff, and that's really popular with like kids and families and like couples, things like that. I do those as on-the-spot drawings at Hull Comic Con and all the local sort of comic events. With that I've also started booking myself out for weddings, so I do on-the-spot caricatures at weddings, like cartoony stuff like that. Then there's the actual like portrait caricature work that I do. That's been like without a doubt like the big push for my career. I started doing that as a more like concerted effort about 3 years ago, just on the whim of a joke with a friend of mine. He was just like, oh, you should draw Judas Priest, like as a terrible pun. I was like, okay, what pun? Ice Screaming for Vengeance, because I've got the album Screaming for Vengeance. And then it ended up I put that on a like Facebook forum for the Bloodstock Festival, and as it turns out one of the organisers saw that. She sends me a message like, how would you like to draw each of the headliners for this year's festival, and we'll give it to them as a gift. So like, yeah, thanks to just a daft idea in the pub and a couple of doodles, I ended up working like and doing some work for Judas Priest, which is pretty amazing. I would say like doing stuff online is definitely like the biggest push for me, because again, like word of mouth in person is, you know, great, it's good, but like actually having like a place online, like boom, you can go straight there, see what they've done, the people can like tag you into posts, and then their friends see it, and then other friends see it, and like I tend to like get the biggest spates of work in when I've finished a commission for say a friend of mine and they've posted it up, and subsequently like friends of theirs have come in. Like I did a commission recently of my friends Donnie and her partner Ian, just with a giant bottle of Iron Brew dressed in Iron Brew colours, because like that's his thing. And from that I must have gotten about 3 or 4 commissions in purely on the gimmick of it, because people thought it was really funny. It took a few years for the commissions to build up to the point where I had to like particularly adopt a big schedule. Like the first say 2 or 3 years was very, very slow, and I had plenty of other time for personal projects, but it's since about late 2017, early 2018 that it's really sort of kicked into getting a lot more work in and having to like delegate hours properly aside, because I think it's easy to fall into the window of getting a bit complacent and then putting stuff off and like, oh, well, I'm self-employed, I work from home, I can afford to roll out of bed at a later time in the morning. But it definitely makes you feel like you've done a lot better and you've been more productive, like if you do set a time in the day. Me personally, I tend to delegate, like I'll get up at say like 8, half 8 in the morning, 9 o'clock till lunchtime, that's purely commission work. Then say 2 hours after that, round up for the day, and then any time after that is when I tend to do like the more personal like side project stuff. Since lockdown started, it's been purely mostly purely commission work, just because like again with all the local comic events being cancelled, I've had to like make up the income that I'm otherwise missing out on, because that's usually like my big earners for the year. But yeah, it's definitely take time aside in the day to just not draw or paint or whatever, just have like an hour or two in between projects where you just do something else, because then you tend to get like tunnel vision and not put your best work out, I think. The big challenges is, I'd say, budgeting to start with. I think honestly the biggest challenge any creative person has, especially when they're self-employed freelance artist, is setting prices and like not undervaluing yourself, because I did that for like the first couple of years, like, and gradually since then I've totted the prices up like every year, every 6 months, just a little bit to accommodate a bit better. Like, when I first started, I was like, for an A4 sized chibi drawing of a family, I'd charge a tenner, which is like not even minimum wage considering like that hours I spend on it. And a friend of mine put it to me best. She said, So look at like at least minimum wage, hours you put into it, cost of materials, and like just the skill set itself, like how like relatively easy or difficult it is, and like obviously add a little bit on just for your own personal like stuff. I'll do offers on like bulk buys, things like that, but I think like during lockdown I've sort of taxed prices down a tiny bit for people, just because obviously it's a difficult situation and I'm trying to keep afloat. But it's people have been very generous. Like people have been like honestly really great. I think another challenging thing about it is being able to accept when a customer's not particularly happy with something, or whether they want something changing, or like, you know, keep a dialogue open with your customers. Absolutely. You will get the odd person being cheeky, trying to wrangle a freebie out of you, like, oh, I will shout you out to my 100 followers on Instagram. I'm like, oh, tempting as it is, I'll have to pass. It does take a little while to get the ball rolling if you don't start out with a good grasp of like an online presence as well. Like set yourself up a Facebook art page, set yourself up an Instagram for your artwork. Like I know a lot of people are into TikTok nowadays. Like that's a really good place to get your artwork out, because people will subsequently put together like compilations on YouTube and it'll have your name in there and everything, and like, you know, there's the off chance that someone will see your artwork in there and think, oh, this person's really good, I'll go check out more. Yeah, like have a Twitch streaming has become a big thing as well. Like I've been streaming like on Facebook since day one of lockdown, because I said, right, I'm gonna do a stream a day until lockdown ends, not realizing how long it would go on. I did my first sort of stream over on Twitch, and like people are really like generally quite nice over there. Like if you find yourself like a good sort of group, if you've got friends in there and they're a bit more into it, and like have someone help coach you through it, like it's really good. I think listen to your friends. If they say, oh, you should post this up somewhere, like look for a Facebook group, whether it's like local artists or like a specific style you're into or content. Like if you're into anime, or if you're into like, I don't know, Doctor Who, things like that, geeky stuff, find a forum of like-minded people and post stuff up there. Like be willing to accept criticism, like constructive criticism, like not people just like, oh, well, that's rubbish, that kind of thing. That's not constructive. But finding people that are willing to have like a good conversation with you about your artwork, and like be willing to take on a few daft ideas. Like if people say, oh, it'd be funny if you drew this, blah 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 blah, like absolutely give that a go, because again, like it's doing the daft ideas that inadvertently led me to my biggest successes so far. If you don't see it as like a full-time thing to start with, absolutely supplement it with other work. Like if you have a part-time job or things like that, just to sort of bounce it out a little bit. Just maybe do it as like a side thing at first, just to build up a bit of a feeling for it, and then push it a bit more. That's when you start like raising your prices and try to push to get more work in. It's a funny one to get into, I think. I mean, like when I very first started, people laugh when I tell them this story because of obviously like the music I listen to and the way I dress, but my supplementary work for the last 5 years was to be a Christmas elf. So yeah, like, you know, take on like a seasonal job, or like, you know, like a full part-time job, that kind of thing. Yeah, and just keep yourself plodding along a bit so you're not losing out and you've still got like an income to supplement the artwork without like having to make like sacrifices for it. As a young person, especially with like everything, a lot of stuff being online nowadays, I would advise to like get a little bit of a community going. Like you can all mutually help each other out, you know, give each other like, you know, little challenges on what to draw, just to like have a bit of a thing going so you can build up a portfolio of different stuff. The most fundamental thing my art teacher taught me at school is like, it's all well and good drawing in the style, but it is so worth investing the time like actually learning how to draw, especially if like drawing people is your thing, like learning to draw anatomy and things like that, and just learning how to understand like how the body works, like, you know, like different muscles in the arms, legs, things like that, how bodies move, and then you can, with that knowledge, you know how to apply and warp it into different styles. So like absolutely educate yourself, watch as many YouTube tutorials as you can, find any sort of competition that's going, like, you know, a properly run competition, whether that's like local or online, or like even by an art supply company, because that's a good chance again online to get your work seen and like have people, even if they don't particularly buy artwork, like gain a following, and then that's more support for you as an artist to get your stuff going as well. Networking is key, absolutely. So like, even if it's not a case of like finding clients to network with, make a network of other artists, like say more professional artists that have a bit of a place in the industry, and like talk to them and see what advice they can give. And like, even then you can use it as a point of like, oh well, I've gotten to talk to this artist, so that makes me feel good, that makes me feel like worth their time, kind of thing. And that sort of really makes a dent on stuff. And like, if you see someone else doing a drawing, especially if it's a little kid or something, you take a look at the drawing and you point out something that you really like about it. Moving forward, try to get a lot more band work in, whether that's doing like CD covers, t-shirts, just like general online content. Want to try do like a children's book kind of thing, because I've got a little 2-year-old nephew and he's starting to get into the whole reading stage of things. Again, the point I can't stress enough of, like, if you have a daft idea, post it online, because like you'll not know who will see it. Just on the off chance I drew a picture of one of my favourite Italian metal musicians, and he saw it, and then the rest of the band were like, oh, can you draw us? And I was like, yeah, why not? I really like you guys. And then that led to me being invited to one of their gigs before lockdown started for free, which led to the singer messaging me asking like, oh, those drawings you did, do you mind if we use them on a t-shirt? So now, like, that's because of a daft idea, my artwork's being sold on t-shirts to like people all over the world. So I've been getting to draw some like musicians that I really, really admire and get paid to do it. Draw what you love. Like, if you're really into like a particular style of music, or you're really into like a particular cartoon or celebrity or anything like that, like, draw it, post it online. You'll find like-minded people that are into it, and that in itself will be a good promo. Just follow on with the daft ideas. Like, if you want to mash 2 characters from something together into a silly thing, do it, because someone will find it funny. It's just finding the right person to see it.